once upon a time in a world of magic, light, and darkness.
The city of Naikamos, capital of the kingdom of Ryos, was in turmoil. The once bustling market square was now a scene of chaos and fear. Stalls lay abandoned, fruits and vegetables strewn across the cobblestone streets, and a crowd of onlookers stood frozen in shock and terror, their eyes fixed on the scene at the center of the square. Milos, chief of the city sentry, made his way through the crowd, his lieutenants trailing close behind, their faces pale with anxiety.
Sir, please reconsider!
We should wait for the duelist from the Order of the Light. Zlask is dangerous, and we can't risk. There's no time. Milos cut him off, his voice hard and unyielding. Zlask has Prince Taka. If we wait any longer, who knows what he'll do? The lieutenant fell silent, his eyes filled with worry as Milos pushed his way forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. The square opened before them, revealing the source of the commotion. Zlask, the Bandit King's brother, stood in the middle of the square, his broad frame towering over the kneeling figure of Prince Taka. The young prince, barely 12 years old, had his arms bound behind his back, a knife pressed against his throat by one of Zlask's men. Despite his situation, Prince Taka's face was a mask of calm resignation, his eyes focused on some distant point beyond the crowd. Zlask's deep, mocking laughter echoed through the square as he glanced around at the assembled townsfolk. The longer you make me wait, he sneered, the worse it will be for your precious prince! He leaned down, his breath hot against the boy's ear. How much longer do you think they'll make you suffer, little prince? Enough! Milo shouted, his voice ringing out over the noise of the crowd! He stepped forward, his hand tightening around the hilt of his sword as he faced Zlask. Release the prince, Zlask. This has gone far enough. Zlask straightened, his eyes gleaming with amusement as he regarded the chief of the sentry. Oh, how brave, he taunted, his voice dripping with mockery. You think you can give me orders, sentry dog? You think I'll just hand over the prince because you asked nicely? Milos forced himself to remain calm, though every instinct screamed at him to draw his sword and cut the bandit down where he stood. You said you wanted a duel. I'm here to answer your challenge. Let the prince go, and we can settle this. Zlask barked out a harsh laugh, his eyes narrowing with disdain. You think I'd waste my time dueling with the likes of you? I demanded a duelist from the Order of the Light, someone worthy of the Bandit King's name. He drew his sword, the blade gleaming wickedly in the morning sun, and pointed it toward Prince Taka. Or perhaps I should take an ear while I wait. It seems you don't value the prince's life very much.
The crowd gasped, and Prince Taka closed his eyes, bracing himself as the blade moved closer to his ear. Milos took a step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. But before he could speak, a clear, commanding voice rang out from the edge of the square.
Stop!
The crowd parted as a woman made her way forward, her long brown hair tied back in an intricate braid. She wore the distinctive garb of the Order of the Light, and at her side hung a thin, elegant sword. Her eyes, a striking shade of amethyst, locked onto Zlask with a gaze as sharp as any blade. "Who are you?" Zlask commanded, his grip tightening on his sword as he looked her over. "I asked for a duelist, not some pretty little plaything." The woman bowed her head slightly, her expression calm and composed.
My apologies for the delay. I am Elyssa, head official duelist for the Order of the Light.
A murmur rippled through the crowd, whispers of astonishment and disbelief spreading like wildfire. Elyssa, the head official duelist of the Order of the Light, the champion of the last World Dueling Tournament, here in Naikamos. Milos felt a surge of relief and awe as he looked at her. He had heard stories of Alyssa's skill, of her unparalleled mastery of the blade, but he had never imagined he would see her in person. He stepped back, giving her the space she needed, his heart pounding with a strange mix of hope and trepidation. Zlask eyed her, a sneer curling his lips as he looked her up and down. You're the greatest duelist on the planet? I bet you won that tournament because everyone went easy on you. But I won't. If you face me, you'll get seriously injured, or worse. Alyssa's gaze never wavered as she met his eyes.
I accept your challenge, but you must release the prince no matter the outcome of the duel.
Zlask's sneer deepened, but he shrugged as if the matter were of no consequence. Fine, I'm a man of my word after all. He grinned down at the prince, his eyes gleaming with malice. But you won't be around to see him go free. He stepped back, raising his sword and facing Elyssa with a confident smirk. Let's see if you're worth the reputation.
The crowd held its breath as the two faced off, the tension in the square so thick it was almost palpable. Milos watched, his heart in his throat, as Zlask charged forward, his sword slicing through the air with deadly speed. But Elyssa was faster. With a fluid grace that seemed almost effortless, she sidestepped his attack, her own blade flashing out in a blur of silver. Zlask let out a cry of pain as her sword sliced through his thigh, sending him stumbling to one knee. Before he could recover, Elyssa spun, her blade slicing cleanly across his torso in a precise, controlled strike. Zlask's eyes widened in shock and pain as he collapsed to the ground, his breath coming in ragged gasps. No. This can't be. He choked out, his hand clutching at the wound in his side as blood pooled around him. Milos barely had time to register what had happened before. Three of Zlask's men shouted in rage, drawing their weapons and charging at Elyssa with wild, desperate cries of revenge. He moved to draw his own sword, but Elyssa was already in motion. With a series of swift, decisive movements, she ducked under their attacks, her blade moving with deadly precision. In a matter of moments, all three men lay dead at her feet, their bodies crumpling falling to the ground as the crowd erupted in cheers. Elyssa stood over them, her expression calm and composed as she cleaned her blade. She sheathed her sword and turned to Prince Taka, her eyes softening as she knelt beside him, cutting his bonds with a swift, deft motion.
Are you hurt, Your Highness? Prince Taka shook his head, his eyes wide with awe and perhaps a hint of infatuation as he looked up at his savior. And no, I'm fine, he stammered, his cheeks flushing slightly. Elyssa smiled, brushing a stray lock of hair from his face. You were very brave. Milos and his men moved in to secure the scene, their expressions a mixture of relief and admiration as they looked at Elyssa. Zlask lay on the ground, his face twisted with pain and hatred as he struggled to lift his head. You'll pay for this. My brother will have his revenge. Elyssa regarded him with a calm, almost pitying gaze. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small scroll, unfurling it with a practiced motion. I offer you the last rites, to find peace in the afterlife. Do you accept? Zlask's eyes narrowed, his lips moving as if to respond, but before he could speak, his body went limp, his breath rattling in his throat as he died. Elyssa bowed her head, murmuring a quiet prayer as she closed the scroll and tucked it away. She rose to her feet, turning to Milos, who stepped forward, his face etched with gratitude. Thank you. You saved the prince and all of us. Your skill, it's beyond words. Elyssa inclined her head, her expression solemn. I did what needed to be done, but I failed. I wasn't able to save their souls before it was too late. Milo shook his head. You saved the prince, and that's what matters. Please, stay and let us show our gratitude. But Elyssa shook her head, a distant look in her eyes. I must return to the Order of the Light. There is much to report. She glanced at Prince Taka, her gaze softening. Be safe, Your Highness. With that, she turned and walked away, the crowd parting before her as she made her way through the square. The people watched her go, their hearts filled with a strange mixture of awe and sorrow as the great duelist disappeared into the morning light.